All right, so let's go ahead and start making our DIY lens shade and reflector. And so what I've got here is, we just got this new like cat box thing, and so it has a big piece of cardboard. So I think this will be a nice surface to do our white, so that it reflects a lot of light back out. So I'm going to use this side here, and I'm not going to put it dead center because I don't need a lot of fill at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put it, closer to the bottom of this as opposed to the center, so that there's more reflector up towards the top. And especially if we tilt the angle a little bit, so it's pushing light and it'll be coming from a downward angle. So I'm going to put it fairly close to the bottom here. And then the other thing that we're going to be doing is, first I just need to figure out like where's the foam going to go, so that it'll be a good location. And so, I think around there is probably about good. So it's not all the way at the bottom, but it'll give us a lot of reflection up there at the top. Okay, so that's where my phone's gonna go. And again, it's facing this direction so I can see it. So the camera's on this side. And so what I wanna know is about, like where is that opening for the actual phone, or for the camera part, the lenses. So they're kind of in this area here. So that should be big enough so that it's not going to be blocking or anything like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is just cut a little hole there so that and just check and make sure that it's coming through there okay. Now, as you're doing that, if you are using something like an X-Acto blade, I'm keeping it slightly off of the actual, because I'm going to use this other piece here, so I'm keeping it a little bit elevated. But if you are cutting directly onto a table, just make sure you have something behind it, like another scrap piece of board as well, just so that you're not going to cut into a table. We don't want to get mom and dad mad. Okay, so that's our first thing. And then we're going to need two things. We're going to need something that's going to hold it. So I don't want to be like fussing with this and having it slipping and sliding all of the time. So I want to basically get it in position and secure it. So we could just use a couple of strips, like make a little, basically, something that'll hold it in place. Like a little base, small box or something that this basically can slide into. That'll kind of keep it in position. I think that'll be the easiest solution. And I'm going to mostly be using hot glue just because it dries really fast and it holds well. But if you don't have hot glue, you could always do it with tape, or use something else, use an envelope, or find other solutions for what's going to work for you. Again, we have to work with the materials that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue this piece in place. Again, that's just to hold that bottom part in place. And then I'm going to run another one along this side here. All right, now let's take a look. So now we've got that part that's kind of in place, at least for our outside edges. We're just going to need a little something, maybe in here that'll kind of block this, pull this bottom part together a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue here and along this bottom edge. Okay, so that's at least attached on there. It's a little bit wonky, but we could always use a little piece of, like a gaffer's tape or something, Gorilla tape along the top of there. And I think it'd probably be also a good idea just to run one, maybe just right along this top part, just to kind of keep it from sliding out of there as well. So maybe we'll run one right there. So there's at least the initial idea, at least to hold the phone in place, because we don't want to be fussing with that and trying to like keep that in place, and it's going to keep moving around within our hole. So we can see from this side, you know, there's our opening. It's not being blocked. We're in good shape there. So that at least, you know, we'll be able to, you know, photograph and be able to touch the button to take the picture or use a remote shutter or whatever else. We can still access our different buttons and things, but that'll at least kind of keep that secure and attached to there. So then the next thing that we need to do is really start to build the lens shade for here, right? So again, you know, we want it to stick out a little bit. And so I did some measuring previously when we were outside in the backlighting. And this was about our length from here to here. So that's where it was resting on the phone. And so we can cut a piece that's about that big and stick it out, you know, so that we get a fairly decent sized shade out here. And, you know, if it's too big, we can always trim it down too. So I think I'd rather have the longest possible shade so that it can block the most amount of light and create the most shade for our lens than having it be too small and then it's not really doing its job. So we're just going to cut a strip that's kind of that length, and then we'll figure out about how big it needs to be to go around there. So this is kind of our whitest part. And again, the shade needs to be the most at the top anyway. So I'm gonna start by just taking a quick look and see, you know, if I'm here, you know, when I put this here and start dropping it down, you know, where is it gonna show, you know, so that it's gonna create that most amount of light, you know, as I come up or down, you know. So I think if I'm about there, it's out of the view of the actual frame. So I'm just gonna kind of hold it in place. Flip this over really quick. Just have a general sense of about how far out it needs to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right around here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just place it there and go ahead and glue it. I'm just going to try to hold it straight and square. So I'm just going to make these two the same size so that they start to get fairly square. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. We're just making a quick little DIY tool that's going to help us shade some of that light. So again, so this time we'll do it on two sides so that those stick together and then also attach to the bottom. Need an extra glue stick. All right, so this is our other side over here. So again, we just need one at the bottom edge and then also on that side edge. I cut this just a little bit longer so I can attach it to those two bottom ends, and hopefully that'll help the hot glue get going a little bit better too. So there's the basic idea. There's our shade, right? And that's gonna block that lens flare for us. And then we've got the camera holder back in the back. And then what I'm gonna do is go outside really quick. I'm gonna spray the inside of this black so that it's not bouncing around a lot of light. And I'm gonna spray paint the front of this white or silver, or maybe a little mix of both to help bounce some of that light in there. Now you can use whatever you want. You could just paint it. You could attach white paper to the front of it and just glue it on. You could use tinfoil if you like the look of the tinfoil and the silver. You know, it's really up to you how you want to finish that part out, but we need it to be more reflective than just the brown so that it can push some more light into the face of our subject when we're doing that backlighting. But that's the basic idea. I'll finish it out really quick and then we'll take a look in the morning and see how the light's working. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the black on the inside, and then I don't think I had any silver, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and go with gold on the outside. And this doesn't have to be perfect, it's just to keep some of that light from bouncing around inside there. So there we go. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just going to help give it a little bit more reflection and help dampen down some of that light bouncing around to cut that lens flare, you know, as we're starting to point the camera directly at the sun. So we'll see how that works tomorrow morning once we have some sun again.